Fourth night of violence in Los Angeles, the chaos prompting President Trump to deploy more federal troops, and the state of California responding with a lawsuit. Good morning. This is a different look, isn't it, for your morning? I'm John Roberts. Bill and Dana are off today. It's good to be with you.
It's great to be with you on this early morning hour, John.
So we got the blue memo today?
We did.
Fantastic.
We're coordinating. It's going to be a great show. I'm Jillian Turner. This is America's Newsroom. President now deploying 2,000 more National Guard troops in response to the anti-ICE protests out in L.A. That brings the total now up to 4,000. The Pentagon also sending 700 Marines right now to support that operation until the National Guard is fully deployed.
At the same time, California is suing the Trump administration for sending in the National Guard. The suit calls the deployment unlawful since Governor Gavin Newsom did not request to it or accede to it. President Trump writing on Truth Social moments ago, if I didn't send in the troops to Los Angeles the last 3 nights, that once beautiful and great city would be burning to the ground right now, much like 25,000 houses burned to the ground in L.A. due to an incompetent governor and mayor.
Well, Louisiana Senator John Kennedy is here with reaction, but Madeleine Rivera also at the White House for us. First, though, we will go to Jonathan Hunt. He is out in L.A. with the story. Hi, Jonathan.
Good morning to you, Jillian and John. I have to say off the top that it is a far less tense situation on the streets of downtown L.A. than it was when we were talking to you just 24 hours ago from here outside the Metropolitan Detention Center. You can see now just a handful of National Guard troops behind me guarding that building. Yesterday, there was a line of them across the street, roadblocks at every corner staged by the LAPD. Not so today, and that might be a sign that they feel that the protests are to some extent. Having said that, there was a lot of violence once again on the streets of LA last night, but law enforcement across the board, federal and local, seem to have a much better handle on how to keep it under control. The forces moved in, the LAPD, along with the LA Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, and federal agents. They splintered the groups that were here in their thousands in downtown LA, and they managed to pick off protesters one by one, making up to, we believe, 100 arrests yesterday. And now those groups have dissipated completely. A calm scene here at 6 a.m. this Tuesday morning. We did see signs of just how organized the protests are as well. We saw a truck pull up at one point last night, appeared to be handing out gas masks to protesters and other supplies, just a sign that there is clearly organization within this. In the meantime, authorities continue to go after every one of those protesters who engaged in violent acts. There was one particular gentleman who was caught on camera throwing rocks at officers. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, talked to Hannity last night and said they know who that guy is. Listen here to Pam Bondi.
That guy has just been identified, and they are doing a search warrant on his house as we speak. So you can run, you can't hide. We are coming after you federally. If you assault a police officer, if you rob a store, if you loot, if you spit on a police officer, we're coming after you.
Meantime, we expect to see Marines on the streets of L.A. at some point today. We know that 700 Marines left their base in 29 Palms. That's in the Palm Springs area east of Los Angeles. Yesterday, we believe they overnighted at Naval Station Seal Beach, but they should be on the streets later today. Jillian and John.
All right, Jonathan Sari in L.A. for us. Keep us posted. Thank you.
Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom calling President Trump a dictator as tensions between the two escalate. Madeleine Rivera live at the White House with the latest from there. Madeleine?
Hey, John. So we know that California Governor Gavin Newsom is suing the Trump administration over the deployment of those federal troops. We learned details about that case last night. Newsom saying one of the cornerstones of our nation and our democracy is that our people are governed by civil, not military rule. He's accusing the president of an unprecedented power grab, deploying the National Guard without his consent. L.A. Mayor Karen Bass is asking the government to stop the ICE raids, and she says what's happening in her city is an experiment in federal authority.
It makes me feel like our city is actually a test case for what happens when the federal government moves in and takes the authority away from the state or away from local government. I don't think that our city should be used for an experiment to see what happens in the nation's second largest city.
But the president feels he is on the right side of this issue. The administration is slamming Newsom and Bass's leadership, calling them incompetent, and they believe the public will side with them and their immigration efforts.
Today we had over 400 to 500 targets we were going after that were known members of gangs in L.A. that have been victimizing people for years, that Gavin Newsom has done absolutely nothing about, that Mayor Bass has done absolutely nothing about.
So the president is also endorsing the arrest of Newsom. Border's Artem Homan says they're not threatening an arrest of Newsom for now, but he says they will seek prosecution from the attorney general if Newsom does cross the line. We will see what that line is. John, back to you.
That would be something to see. Maddie Rivera for us. Maddie, thank you. Jillian?
You got it.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Sir, thanks for being with us this morning. It's wonderful to see you. You might not know this, but Democrats are not thrilled with the latest move. Take a listen to a few of them. I want to get your response.
All of the violence and the escalation is core to the Trump administration's authoritarian playbook. They are being met with tear gas and rubber bullets from this unconstitutional, unlawful administration.
If one wants to fix the immigration laws, which they should be fixed, fix the immigration laws. Don't arrest workers. And what Donald Trump is doing is the fear of America, not the promise of America.
The fear of America. What do you have to say, sir?
Well, number one, I think all those people need to pop a Zoloft and relax a little bit. Number two, I don't think this situation is especially complicated. You don't need to be an astrophysicist to figure it out. We've got a wolf problem in Los Angeles. They're not peaceful protesters, they're wolves. They're hurting people, they're destroying property. So you say, well, where's the governor? Well, the governor is a sheep. He'll tell you, I'm a sheep. He's a sheep in sheep's clothing. He thinks cops are a bigger problem than criminals. So then you say, well, where's the mayor of Los Angeles? Maybe she can stop it. Well, she's a sheep too. More sheep is not going to solve the wolf problem. So the federal government sent in troops, and we're stopping the wolf problem. Last night was a better night, and tonight will be better still. It's not hard to figure out to me, and I think this is what, I think most Americans are looking at this and going, stop the wolves. And a lot of them are thinking, you know, nobody's talking about it, but who's going to pay for all this? You know, who's going to pay for all this destruction? Are we going to get the bill? That's the way I see it.
You know, Senator, it would seem that not all Democrats are in the same boat, the MS outrage. Listen to what Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania said about this. He said, quote, I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration, but this is not that. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. And now Democrats are calling for demonstrations across the country. It almost looks like they're looking for a repeat of the Summer of Love from 2020.
Well, I think Senator Fetterman has given us some wise advice. We ought to take it. Number two, my Democratic colleagues have a game plan. I don't think it's a very good one, but it's the same game plan we've seen forever. President Trump is a dictator. He's trying to destroy democracy. Now he's trying to take over our cities. And they're trying to convince the American people that that's true. There's just one problem. The American people can see what's going on. It's just like they could see that President Biden had neurodegenerative disease. They can see the riots in Los Angeles. So when the Democrats try to tell them not to believe their lying eyes, nobody believes them. I mean, I think they ought to get a new strategy here. But aside from the politics, Los Angeles is one of the greatest cities in the world. We shouldn't stand by and let the wolves destroy it or devour it.
Sir, I had DHS spokesperson on John's show yesterday. Take a listen. Can you tell us anything about numbers? How many people? What are the crowds like on both sides?
We know last night it was about 6,000 protesters or 6,000 rioters. We're still monitoring the situation today. We have more resources on the ground to ensure that things are peaceful, that American citizens are safe, and that our ICE enforcement officers and the National Guard on the ground are as well safe.
Okay, so if there's 6,000 people roughly at any given time out there on the streets, and we are seeing the level of chaos and destruction and violence that we've been showing on our screen this morning, it doesn't really lend itself to this narrative that most of the folks out there are peaceful.
Well, they're not peaceful. I mean, you can see it. I see what you see. The American people see what we both see. They see wolves acting like wolves. And they see sheep, like Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass, telling the wolves, please stop it, please stop it. Well, the wolves aren't going to stop. And you see the American taxpayer and the good people of California, they're going, the wolves are taking over. Now, who am I going to call? Gavin Newsom, Karen Bass, or a Marine? The good people of Los Angeles are saying, I think I'll take door number 3.
Yeah.
And
well,
it's not complicated.
Yeah, I was just going to say the district attorney for Los Angeles County, Nathan Hochman, who was on Fox and Friends just a little while ago, says he's going to prosecute these folks to the fullest extent of the law. But some of these people we see hurling bricks at officers from overpasses or throwing them at cars as they're passing by. And there are plenty of democratic countries in this world that I can think of where doing something like that, Senator, would get you shot. So there would seem to be a fair degree of restraint being practiced by these officers and these National Guard soldiers.
Well, I don't think we ought to shoot them unless they try to hurt somebody, but I think we ought to put them in jail and give them a long time to think about what they did. And that's the next step. You make a good point, John. You can't just let these folks go. They've got to be prosecuted. And, what you allow is what will continue. Honestly, to me, this is not a complicated situation. It's about law and it's about order. You either support law and order and justice, because without order there is no justice, or you support the wolves. I'm on the side of justice.
And to quote you back to yourself, Senator, there's always Zoloft. Thanks so much for taking time with us this morning.
Yeah.
Maybe not enough Zoloft in the world. Senator, good to see you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.